Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our fourth now Google Hangout Bad Oat Show and Tell. Super excited. We are now officially, as a Twitter community, the hashtag BadgeChatK12 community is now officially 1 year old. Super exciting that this sort of whim that we had and said, let's see if there's other folks out there who are looking for a community to learn and share with. Let's do this and go at it weekly and see if other people join us. And it's been really awesome for us to go at it and see folks all over the United States and Canada, Latin America, Europe, New Zealand, Australia, just coming together and galvanizing around this common interest that we all have in credentialing learning for young people and adults. And so thank you to all of you who are joining us and have been on this journey with you. It's been a lot of fun, and I have a real great sense that we are just getting started. If you are watching this not live on YouTube, we are a weekly Twitter chat, hashtag BadgeChatK12. You can find us there every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And what we've been doing here for the latter part of 2015, we'll continue doing in 2016, is alternating every other week between Twitter and Google Hangouts on air, with the idea being that we, on a Hangout, can dive a little bit deeper into our conversations than the 140 characters that Twitter allows us. And so if you are joining us live, please feel free to ask questions using the Q&A app. We'll keep an eye on those and see those popping into our browser. Make sure to answer those every time we see them. And with that, I think it's a good time to get started. Introducing our first guest is On Win. And On Win comes to us, his Twitter handle is @BadgeDiscovery. And he is one of the founders of Credmos, which is CREDMOS.com. Credmos.com. And thank you for joining us. And if you wouldn't mind, share with us a little bit about just what exactly Credmos is.
Hi Noah, it's great to be here. I've been a long-time follower for the last and long-time lurker for the past couple of months. So I pop up occasionally. So basically, Badge's development is super great. There's a lot of people from hundreds of different organizations all across the world building incredibly in-depth badge system, right? But it's actually really difficult for users to find badges. Like right now, I'm sitting at my office in UC Irvine, Orange County, California, and it's very challenging to find out what badges within the local county or Southern California that I can actually earn that might be out there that I might be interested. So this is a kind of a big challenge for the open badge and the digital badge community. And that's what Credmos was designed to serve as kind of a recommendation engine, search engine, if you will, for various badges. It takes badges from different sources. People can submit a list of the badges in their system directly to Credmos. They also take badges from the Open Badge directory built by the Badge Alliance. So everything that's in there, Credmos also see an index. And the big thing right now is just to get the word out to people that just because you have an open badge system doesn't mean other people out there necessarily know those badges exist, especially if your system is not limited to like a classroom or a single school. So if you have a student that earn badges, how do they know what other badges for a museum or a library or other system, even within the city, how do they know what those badges are that they can earn? So that's kind of what Credmos is designed to do. Next step up is I want to try to get in geolocation information. There is an iOS app coming, so you can actually just pop up your phone and see like what badges I can navigate to earn.
That all sounds super exciting. Again, our first guest this afternoon is On Win of Credmos.com. He is @BadgeDiscovery on Twitter, and feel free to use the Q&A app on the Hangout if you have questions for On. And On, a first question that I know some teachers who watch this are going to be wondering is, if I have created badges, what do I need to do to get them into the Credmos directory?
Okay, so the primary interface that Credmos uses is a file that lists all of your badges. In the Mozilla Open Badge infrastructure, each badge has a unique URL, the badge class that is. So what I need is a list of those badges in the file. If you go to the Credmos website, there's a link, I believe it says like add to directory, and you can follow that, and it will kind of lead you to instruction on how to get a list of badges for your collection, as it were.
That is awesome. And what about if I'm not necessarily looking to list badges, if I'm looking to find other badges that are out there? How do you recommend folks get started diving into credmos.com? And for folks who are looking this up on your own, that's credmos.com.
Hi. So to find badges, that's kind of actually interesting. The very simple way is on Credmos, there's just one giant blank search bar, and there's also a tag cloud with some generally popular tag that people have added to their badges. The challenge a little bit is on when we talk about metadata within badges, a lot of them actually don't have metadata. So it's very difficult for Credmos to work with basically what I don't have. So a big challenge for me in doing this work is when people are actually creating their badges, they need to actually put in really good description, not one sentence on the badges. They need to actually tag the badges or name the badges descriptively. So Credmos can kind of go through that search engine process, and I can extract the tag. I can extract keyword from the title and from the content, and then make that a lot easier for people to find those as popular tag.
And so a question that makes me wonder is if maybe you could even help some folks out, especially any viewers or folks participating in the Badge Chat K-12 community who don't know necessarily what to do with metadata. Could you maybe talk us through an example? This week is Hour of Code. Let's say I'm in my class and we are going on code.org and we're doing an activity with Scratch, for example. What might be a good example just off the top of your head of stuff that you would love at Credmos to see folks putting into that metadata with the tags?
Sure. So let's start with basically in the badge itself, have the title be descriptive. So have it be more than maybe 3 or 4 words. Have it maybe 5 or 7 words, like not as long as a complete sentence, but just descriptive enough to know what is it about Scratch that your badge represent, and then kind of state the same thing again within the description. So instead of having like just one line or maybe one short paragraph, maybe consider breaking that up into a regular 3 or 4 small paragraph that kind of say, what does this badge represent to the earner? How do they earn it? Just a little bit of description like that. And then for the tagging is very important to tell the keyword or the key phrase and concept that your badge represent. Scratch, of course, is the first keyword. And then I would say probably coding, programming. If your audience is in a particular age demographic, is it K-12? Is it elementary school, intermediate school? Break it down into that. There is no limit to tagging. So having 7 or 9 or 10 tags is much better than having 2 or 3 tags. And then if you want to dive a lot deeper than that, there's also the alignment, which a lot of people typically do not talk about. But alignment is basically how do you break that badge into competency as recognized by something that's a common framework. So in this session that you're doing with your student with Scratch, is anything, let's say maybe a Common Core or another kind of technical framework? Is there an organization that recognizes the kind of exercise that the student doing? And if you can list off those, all of them, they can be coming from different framework. It doesn't have to be from any organization. It could be anything. But basically, the more data you put in there, the better. Because within each of those alignment, what I can do is I can actually go through them and actually extract the text from the alignment description, and that gives me additional context. And all of that together basically generate really good context that when people go looking for Scratch or coding or something, the badges that you and your student are using pop up first.
And just one of the things that I hear you saying, and actually, right quick before I ask that question, for folks who are watching us live, we do have a few people popping in and out. Feel free to use the Q&A app to pose questions to On Win of credmos.com. He is at Badge Discovery on Twitter. And actually, we do have a question before I ask mine from Don President in Canada. He is asking, what platforms now have badge lists that are being harvested by Credmos?
Hmm. So this get to be a really interesting question just because a lot of them are very proprietary, so they don't necessarily want me to share their number or the inclusion or exclusion from Kratos. And I do have to work with everybody in the entire ecology. So unfortunately, that's not a question I can actually answer right now. So I apologize to Don. I know he's been very interested in that question since day one of Kratos launch, and we had a little Twitter exchange about that.
Totally understandable. I guess another question, going back to what you were saying a moment ago about tags on, sometimes a lot of us educators, we want to be perfect all the time, and I almost hear you saying, err on the side of not being perfect and go ahead and use as many tags as possible that would help explain to an audience to whom this badge is being displayed or someone who wants to find this badge that it makes it more discoverable the more tags you use, as long as the tags are accurately describing what the badge is doing.
Right, right. So there was a question from a gentleman on the Open Badge forum a couple of months back, and basically he kind of wanted to know a series of very in-depth kind of query about, like, I'm in a certain age demographic, what kind of badges are oriented to what people like me, which one are free to earn, which one are like low cost, which one does it take money to earn, how long does it take for me to earn this badge? Is it going to be like a 1 or 2 hour workshop? Is it going to take 5 weeks of full-time 8 hour or 5 hour a day work involved in some kind of course? You have to pass a test. So those are very in-depth questions. And some of that can be solved by tag, of course, not everything right now, but that's why I say kind of more tag, as long as they are relevant and descriptive of what your badge is doing. And also remember that it is up to Discovery platform, exactly like Credmos, and hopefully there'll be other competitor out there that does similar work. It's up to us to build the technology to do that filtering for you. But what we need is the data. I can't tag your badge if the keyword does not physically exist either in the description or in the tag or in the alignment. It has to be existing somewhere for me to extract that context. Now, if that context comes from the alignment, the tag, the title, and the description, then the relevancy of your badge within that context is much easier to decipher for somebody searching for that keyword or concept.
That is really awesome. So if for those of us who are creating badges to issue, whether it's to students or adults, to err on the side of providing more information so that an audience knows what the badge is about, use tags so that a service like Credmos can find it and list it. Another question I have for you, and for anybody else who's watching live, you can submit questions for OnWin using the Q&A app in the Hangouts. I'm wondering if one of the solutions that you see Credmos and the other competitor you mentioned kind of getting at for us is going back to that Scratch example, that there's probably right now today dozens, if not hundreds, of different badges called Scratch that students can earn from a teacher all over the United States and the world, right? And so do you see a service like Credmos being a way to help folks identify ways to not reinvent the wheel, stuff that might already be out there, and as a result maybe seek a degree of equivalence where some badges that have the same name also mean the same thing?
Wow, so that is an extremely loaded and very complex question, and now we're getting into arena of things like competency-based framework. But yeah, so that's a deep dive. Yes, various different services like Credmos, Open Badge, Passport, a lot of Packback, or kind of any service that deal with multiple badges from different issuer, eventually we'll have to kind of reconcile with the alignment, and that's why the alignment is super important, because the alignment allows you to break or insert metadata describing equivalency in many different contexts. So 2 different batches or 10 different batches are calling themselves scratch, their alignment data might be completely 100% different. And that's a challenge. That's why eventually Pragmos will do some of that matching. It's not quite there. Both the data is not being embedded, and a lot of the competency base or the framework that the alignment uses are not quite there yet. So there are stuff and people working on actually inventing them as we go, and it will get better. But yes, I do see that issue, and one of the really interesting things is there's like 5 or 6 batches that says somebody owning them is aware of what open batch is. So, so that actually is a very real example I do see.
That is so awesome. And for the folks who just popped in, we are with An Nguyen of Credmos. He is at Badge Discovery on Twitter. You can ask questions using the Q&A app on this Hangout. You can also tweet using hashtag BadgeChatK12. I'm trying to stay up on the hashtag, make sure I don't miss any action there. And An, for those of you who aren't already familiar with his work, goes way back to the original DML competition, and even before there was such a thing as open badges. And so really excited to have you and your expertise joining us today. And I'm wondering, just outside of your own work with Credmos, what's really exciting right now as we near the end of 2015 and over 4 years of this badge journey? What's got you excited right now?
Right now, honestly, it's really the batch extension. So basically, extension is something very new in early 2015 for the open batch infrastructure. What it does is it allows pretty much anybody to add any additional data into batches. So we're no longer tied to the batch kind of working group or the people who define the standard for the batch. So additional custom extension, a really useful one is the geolocation extension that was constructed by somebody, and with that you can embed a geocoordinate of where your batch are issued. So for you, for instance, where is that Scratch workshop? You mentioned earlier, where is it actually taking place? How does somebody earn that batch, or where do they go to earn it? So that's one extension. Another extension is the LRMI metadata. LRMI is basically created to categorize learning resources. The extension for this, I don't believe it exists yet, but I'm actually a huge fan of it, so I might actually add that as an extension if nobody does it in the next couple of months. With LRMI, teacher, student, everybody can do a much deeper search of what kind of content are available to earn badges. And that's just the beginning. Pretty much anything you can think of, as long as somebody's willing to create the extension and other people are willing to use it, they can be massively useful.
And just to make sure I understand and maybe help us put that into just regular layman language for us, if I understand correctly, with these extensions, that it's going to be possible for someone who's not necessarily the badge creator to add information that gets baked into the badge.
That depends on various services along the way of how the badges get used. Generally, right now, the extension would have to be supported by the platform that's issuing the badges, because most of the time, we still want to know that you, as the creator of the badge for the Scratch workshop, that you're the one who put in that extension of the location, and it's not just going to drive me out into the middle of a forest or the middle of a lake or something. So it is something that has to be supported by your batch issuing platform. But that's the thing is, with extension, every batch issuer and user, you can contact your batch issuing platform and you can tell them, these are the things that I'm really interested in. These are the things that I want to see in batches. And they don't even have to exist yet. It's just as long as you can get enough people to be interested in them, to create them, to add the data in, to consume the data, then I think it's something that everybody can make happen.
And I really like that sort of creative lens you bring to it of taking us to a place of doing work on something that does not even exist yet. That is pretty cool. Don asked another question, and this is one that I think is definitely very specific interest here. It is, will Credmos be able to handle planned version 1.1 extensions that might describe skills frameworks better than the current alignment field?
So Crackmos will basically support any extension as long as there's enough community support for it. So the first thing is somebody has to create the extension. The second thing is enough people have to actually put in the data for the extension to be usable. So if somebody create an extension, no matter how complex or how simple, if just one or two people using it, that makes it very difficult for me to actually add support for it. If you start having 2% or 5% of kind of the batching ecology start using the extension, and I see that, then I see that it's growing, that it's useful, then I'll add support for it, and I'll be the biggest cheerleader for more people adopting that extension.
Awesome. And I really appreciate your generosity with your time and sharing your incredible work with Credmos. And I also know that you had wanted to join us this afternoon for something related but totally different at the same time. And that was to share an exciting announcement about something coming up for California folks in January.
Yes, yes. Thanks for that. And so this actually started with you. It all started with Batch Chat K-12. That's why we wanted to kind of be here and be able to announce it here publicly first. And it started with me meeting Rich Dixon from PDLN. Basically, he just followed me on one of these. I think it might have been your second video chat. And I'm like, oh, wow, there's a person following me from Batch Chat K-12. So we randomly tweeted back and forth to each other, and eventually we ended up organizing a meeting in Southern California. This is called the SoCal Open Batch Forum. So basically, it's a discussion forum on Open Batch. We include some short presentation and an afternoon of discussion. What I'm trying to do here is basically create a place where people can physically congregate and talk about batches. And with people from the Southern California ecology, so we're actually all doing things that physically are kind of relate to each other, and we're not all cross country or international. So there's a linkage and there's like a real ecology in the state of California we work, and it's also bringing together people from various different demographics that work with badgers. So I know Rich personally has invited quite a number of people from the K-12 and higher education community. We've got other people coming from workforce, coming from post-secondary education, etc. So we're all going to be in a room and we're going to try to solve some problem that you can only really do when you have people from across the spectrum. What kind of question, best practices, challenges, pitfall, what is it that we're all faced with? And this is going to be a little bit more advanced than what you typically find at conferences. So those tend to be very introductory, like this is an open batch or digital batch, this is what it can do for you. This is like an advanced gathering of people who are we already know what batches are. It's people who are already implementing batch system, and everybody is coming across different challenges. And if you're by yourself, it's very difficult to solve those. So I'm trying to create a support network and get people to have conversation that are rich and deep. And it's very difficult to have this conversation in any other venue because sometimes I don't think they actually exist. So this is something completely different. It's going to be super interesting. So this is a call out to everybody on Batch K-12. If you're in Southern California, you can drive here. We don't start until about 10:30, so you can literally be on the lower half of the state and be able to drive here, spend a day with us, and then drive home before it's night.
And so for the folks who are in Southern California are willing to make the trip, what's the date? And you said 10:30 a.m. is the start time, and where do they go to get more information or sign up?
Sure. So it's going to be on Saturday, January 30th. I made it to Saturday because I know a lot of teachers can't make it out if it's in the middle of the school week. It's going to be at UC Irvine, and the URL, which I don't know if I can type on here, but I guess Rich or you might be able to type, and it's just openbatchforum.eventbrite.com. And probably quite a number of people will be tweeting that, so if you follow the Twitter channel, that should be popping up with some retweet entry in just a couple of minutes.
Absolutely. I'm sure that some of the folks who are watching us live are already beating us to the punch on that. Thank you so much for putting on this forum in January and for taking a few moments of your afternoon to join us here on Badge Chat K-12.
Thank you for having me. It's great being here as participating in this great chat.
Awesome. Thank you, and have a great afternoon. We're about to jump over to Mary, and before we do, I will add in that for folks who are going to be coming to Colorado in June for ISTE, the June 26th, I believe, is when ISTE starts. We are also going to be doing a badge forum. I think our title is Badge Summit on June 24th, which is Friday. We do not yet have our Eventbrite, but hopefully that'll be up by next week's Badge Chat K-12, so we'll be able to share details, but it will be a full day that Friday right before ISTE. Give yourself an excuse to come to Denver early, have a nice Saturday to enjoy the Mile High City, and spend Friday engaging with 290 or so of your favorite badge friends. So definitely stay tuned for details on that as well. And next up, sharing her badges and what they're doing with adult badges for PD purposes, we have Mary. And Mary, can you unmute? There you go.
Hi.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us. Bye on.
All right. Well, of course.
So I didn't, I appreciate your patience. I know you were waiting for your students to leave the classroom. It looked pretty busy over there for a few minutes. But thank you for taking time to join us this afternoon and share your work that you've been doing. But before we get there, if you wouldn't mind just letting folks know who you are and where you're teaching.
Sure. I am Mari Venturino. You can find me on Twitter at Miss Venturino. And I teach 7th grade science and AVID in San Diego, California.
That is awesome. And Mari, how did you get onto digital badges for your colleagues there in San Diego?
Well, I mean, I've heard of gamification and all that for the last year or so. It's kind of a big buzzword. But then when I attended the annual Q conference in Palm Springs last March, they had a badge list group. And so I joined and earned a few badges for presenting and blogging about Q and social media probably. And so that was really cool. And I was like, oh, this is a really cool tool. So I played around with it later in the school year because I was on the brink of getting a position at my school as a blended learning specialist. So that was just a .2 position. So I'm still a full-time teacher, but I'm also have one period kind of like as a tech resource position. And so it was sort of in preparation for that to put together a PD, and it just took off from there. So I use BadgeList as my platform.
Really cool. And was there a reason why you decided to start first with teachers and instead of students?
I think it was mostly just my role that I was going to be training teachers and doing technology PD, but there's so much PD that happens after school and so many meetings and things. I didn't want to make really anything more for teachers to go to, so I wanted to provide something that they could do on their own or things that they've already done that they can share their expertise on also. So that's why I started with teachers, and someday I'll start with students too.
That is so cool that you're planning on doing both teachers and students.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
The reality of what we do, right? We have announcements in our classes.
Right. I've had a couple kids knocking on my door, but I told them I'm not going to be available after 3:20.
So I think just a good starting place, and by the way, for folks who are watching live, you can ask your questions by tweeting them at #BadgeChatK12. You can also use the Q&A app on the Hangout in order to ask your questions. And I think one place is, as somebody who's already, not getting ready but getting started, is any tips that you have for other educators on actually getting started, getting beyond the ideation phase of how do we go about this and actually diving into creating and issuing badges?
Gosh, I'm so glad you asked. I actually wrote a blog post about that, and I did a presentation at San Diego Q conference a couple weeks ago on just that. And really it starts with your idea, who's your audience, just like any piece of writing. Who's your audience, what's your intended target, what do you hope for them to learn or get out of it? And once you have that nailed down, then really just planning the badges is the important part. Making sure that there's varying levels of badges, so that there's ones that are really easy to get, there's some that are medium, and some that are more hard. And now I'm starting to build on nesting badges, so that you have to earn this badge first, and then that badge is going to be evidence for the next badge plus others. So making badges that depend on each other, also kind of like levels. And then creating the badges. One thing, I mean, I haven't played with a lot of other badge platforms, so I'm not good at, I can't compare and contrast, so I'm just going through my badge list lens. But one thing I like about it is that you can create the badges on there, that there's templates, you can change the background and the image and things. I actually use Google Draw to create my badges, and I found that to be really easy. So, and then obviously planning out what the evidence is, what people need to show you in order to earn the badge, and then providing feedback at the end.
That is such great advice to just be really, folks. A lot of folks are asking us each week, for concrete steps, and just hearing you lay it out like that makes it sound so simple and achievable. So thank you.
Yeah.
I definitely want to ask you in a moment to share, to screen share with us and kind of take us on a dive of what you've created. But before you go there, maybe just start us out with what was the first badge you started with?
For my group, you mean?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I created a badge called Badge Beginner, and I don't know where to to share things with anyone who's watching, but if anyone's watching and has the ability to type this in, if you go to badgelist.com/getting, GETTING dash hyphen techie, TECHY, that's my open badge list group, so if you want to follow along and play too, then that's where to go. And my first badge was Badge Beginner. So basically all you have to do is join the group and earn the badge. So it's very easy. You join and you earn a badge right away, sort of in hopes of showing people how easy it is to earn a badge. And then after that, I don't remember. Well, I guess I can figure out. I'll show you what my second badge was when we screen share, because I have a whole Google Doc spreadsheet sort of thing.
Well, maybe that's a great segue to go ahead and do the screen share there.
Sure. So I've never oh, I have.
Well, that's okay. So just hover over your Hangout, and on the top left, there's a little green button that says screen share.
I have to make sure I get. Oh, there! Look, I can even screen share a different window than I'm actually in. Because I put the Hangout next to my other window. Okay. Oh, and now, okay, let me make it bigger. We're learning together. So this is my badge list group, Getting Techie. It's an open group, and this group is open to anyone. Anyone is more than welcome to join this. It's a duplicate group of my original group. My original group is for my teachers at my school, but I made it and I was starting to talk about it on Twitter, and other people wanted to join, and I realized that the comfort level of social media sharing at my school for everyone is not to the level that I'm at. So I've duplicated the group to make it for other people. So it's everything that my other group has, but open to anyone who wants to join. So then I guess this is the dashboard. I'm actually signed into my personal badge list account, and I created it with my tech coach role account, so it shouldn't be a problem. But so I have different badges. Badge Beginner was the first one I made. I have different ones, like you can submit your own badge ideas, try it out in the classroom, invite a friend. And then I have a lot of different apps and tools that people can use. So for Explain Everything, if the teacher tries out Explain Everything and creates their own for themselves, that's one badge. And then when they use it for students or with students, that's another badge. I have badges about Twitter and blogging, and the list goes on and on. So feel free to explore that.
And so, out of curiosity, and it looks like you've created just a whole, just really vibrant system of badges for your colleagues to earn at your school there in San Diego. I'm wondering, is it a pretty easy sell so far, or how are you getting folks to buy in and drink your Kool-Aid?
I think, well, I've really, the people that drink my Kool-Aid are the people that drink my Kool-Aid already, just like friends. And when I started it last May, I just emailed and texted a couple teachers at my school. I was like, hey, this is what I'm trying out. Would you mind hopping on and joining and just try earning the badges so that I can see how it works from my side too? And they're like, oh yeah, sure, gladly. So that was, it's easy. With teachers that aren't as engaged, I think it's been harder. It's been a harder sell just because they're not people I hang out with as much, so I have to make a better effort to get to them. But I have invited teachers that have come to trainings and things. So in my teacher group, I have, I can show you, I have, oh, hold on, the custodian's coming in, so I better tell him. Can you come back in 30 minutes? Can you come back in 30 minutes?
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the one I have for my teachers, I have different trainings that they can go to, so if I can find one. So then I'll invite, oh there, okay, so Tech Breakfast attendee. So the teachers that attended, there was just a couple, so I invited them to that badge in hopes that they would get more involved with the San Diego Q Tech Fair. If they attended, I invited them to that badge. So that's another way that I get them on board, is just by inviting them to the badges and inviting them to join. So I think that answered your question, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would really appreciate it seems like your approach is really more about pulling colleagues than pushing them, and I think most folks really appreciate that. We are with Mari Venturino. If you have questions for her about the badge system she's sharing, you can use the Q&A app on the Google Hangout in order to ask your questions, and we will get to those live on air. You can also tweet at us using hashtag BadgeChatK12, and we're keeping a good eye on that hashtag to make sure we capture any questions and get them in front of her. And Mari, I guess my next question is, you mentioned the leveling and your interest in gamification, and so are you able to share with us a little bit of how that goes, where, maybe for a teacher who, especially folks who look at some of the badges, like you had the badge beginner, where it was really just join the group was all that they had to do, or attend this breakfast, to where it's, almost what someone would call a participation badge. How you use levels to ensure that there's meaning happening to the badges that people would value.
Right. That's something that's kind of my next project with a lot of these. But with the apps, every app has two levels of them. They have the Explorer and the Pro. So the Explorer is the teacher exploring on their own, and then the Pro is them actually implementing it into their classroom. But with this one, the Pro, it's not a requirement to earn the Explorer badge first. And I guess in the future, that's something that I could try out. But again, some of them are more involved. Some of them are a little bit easier to earn in the first place. So I think in terms of leveling, just making sure that there are some that are really easy to get, like follow 50 people on Twitter. That's really easy to just click follow, follow, follow 50 times. Whereas actually planning a lesson with Explain Everything and getting student artifacts and submitting those, that is a little bit more challenging, but a little bit more worthwhile too.
Yeah, I really love that sort of differentiation between the Explorer and the Pro, and just the expectations, and how it sounds like if I'm an adult learner, I can really engage with your badge system at my own level of readiness. And so the Explorer badges really give me the ability to dive in by going ankle deep, and then the pro badges allow me when and if I'm ready to go, for a full-on swim.
Right, exactly, and that's kind of what where I'm getting at with it too.
We do have a question from our colleague Rich in California. He asks, what's been the biggest challenge in implementing badges with other teachers?
Time. It's always time. Just having the time for people to learn on their own, for them to get help when they need it, and then just, there's so many responsibilities that we as teachers have, and so many of us are doing multiple things, that I think just having enough time to sit down and earn a badge is difficult.
Yeah, we're definitely finding that in Aurora as well. And I just in any conversations I have with colleagues is that time is really our biggest enemy. That it's not necessarily whether or not folks agree this is worthwhile. It's more when am I going to do this? Nothing's coming off my plate.
Right.
And so, have you had any opportunities to explore or hear within your school and district ways that folks are maybe approaching that time question in creative ways? And if it's not by creating time, then perhaps even valuing time differently?
I haven't. That's something that I've been really challenged with lately, trying to figure out time. And again, it's something that I haven't had time to explore because there's always a million things to do. I think, just making sure that there's time for personal invitations to the badge list group. There's personal invitations to specific badges, and just know that people, that this is a community, of earning. And then, I'm kind of thinking that there needs to be some sort of extrinsic reward for teachers, because, teachers like to, earning a badge is pretty intrinsically motivated, if there's no big leaderboard. So I don't know exactly how I would do it, but some sort of extrinsic motivation for teachers to show off. I know some people print out the badges and stick them on their window, so I might maybe print out the badges, like the little icons that teachers have earned, and stick them on their door. And maybe that would encourage more participation, but we're at the end of the semester, so a lot of it needs to be thought of for second semester when we're a little bit more refreshed around here.
Sure, absolutely. It's only fair if we're asking you about the biggest challenge. What so far has been just some of the bright spots and biggest successes that you've had so far?
I think just seeing different teachers become engaged with new tools and want to learn new tools and learn that they're out there has been a really big success for us. Just knowing, I think that this year I've been able to develop a really good community around technology at my school. It's not something big and scary, because along with Badge List, I do a weekly Tech Tuesday lunch where teachers bring their lunch and we hang out and chat about whatever they want to learn about. So, for example, tomorrow there's a teacher that wants to learn more about Quizlet, so we're going to talk about Quizlet. And I don't know a whole lot about it, but we're going to explore together. And I think creating that culture of, I'm not the expert, but I will guide you toward the right answer, and we'll learn together, has been a very positive thing for my staff and myself this year.
That spirit of shared inquiry can really be powerful, can't it? Of not top-down telling people this is what you need, but what do you need from us, and let's explore it together.
Right, exactly.
And for anybody who's just joined, I saw a few new people just popped in. You can ask Mari Venturino questions, but using the Q&A app on the Hangout, or by tweeting using the hashtag BadgeChatK12 hashtag. I am staying on top of that and making sure I see if any questions come in. And Mari, you'd mentioned that you had a Google Sheet that you could share with us, so that you were using to, if you wouldn't mind talking us through that and how you're using it as a sort of planning tool with the badges.
Sure. So this is my Google Drive folder that's mostly organized. And let's see. So this is my badge. So it's not a spreadsheet just because I didn't like how the spreadsheet turned out. But this is where I plan all my badges. I don't color code, but I shape code the badges. And it's more for me. I haven't really told anyone that's earning them about this. But there's different shapes for different things. So what I do is I number my badges to make it easy because I also have a couple other groups that I run that aren't nearly as big, but it just keeps everything on track. And then I write in the name. When I create the image, I quickly I drop it into there. The description, sometimes I copy and paste it. Sometimes I just write a couple words so I remember what it is. And then on the right side, now that I have my MVA Viking teachers group and the Getting Techie group, I mark off which group it's in or if I put it in at all. So, and so then you can see kind of the order that I created the badges. And then now I'm down to quite a few. So like there's some that I've thought up, but I haven't actually made yet. And then it just kind of keeps going on and on and on. I think I'm up to about 50 now. But in my, gosh, I don't know where it is, but I can share it with everyone using Badge Chat K12, the hashtag later. But with my tech fair presentation and in the blog post from myself and the blog post from those people, Badge Chat, they blogged about me too. You can get a template for this. So I've created a template. You can automatically make a copy of it for yourself. So that's pretty cool. And then my badges themselves, I do them all on Google Draw. So I have all the badges. And if I go 50, you can see all the badges. And then badge list only allows PNG files. So then I download the file and put them in another folder so that I have them all organized. And I feel very proud of myself for having this so well organized.
That is marvelous. Organized. I'm so impressed.
Yeah. So,
and can you tell us what is a special badge? I see that you have the badges that are stars are specials. What does that communicate?
I think that's more of my other category. So trying out badge list in your classroom, I guess maybe things that are a little bit more involved or required. I guess it's things that require a little bit more effort than others. So that one, giving feedback on things that you like about the group, or creating your own new badge. And then the tech fair, so that's going to a conference. So that was giving up 2/3 of a Saturday to go. So I created a badge for that. So it's kind of my other, but also a more meaningful other category.
Gotcha. And a question, this is going back to the successes, and one question I have is, as you've had more and more teachers start earning badges with you, are you seeing teachers who then say, I want to be issuing badges, and are going very quickly from badge earners to badge issuers themselves?
Uh-oh, you cut out. Are you seeing more and more teachers, and then it cut out?
So are you seeing more and more teachers wanting to issue badges themselves, not just be badge earners, but also be badge issuers?
At my school, I haven't gotten to that level yet, but there's a couple teachers at other schools, they were kind of my motivation to create the Getting Techie badge list group, and they wanted to do this for their staffs also, and so there's a librarian that kind of has a similar role to me, and she created one for her staff. And then a teacher at her school, who's a good friend of mine, started a group for her students too. So I think not really at my school. And again, I think it goes back to time. Just the people that really enjoy it also are the people that are committed to 5,000 things. And probably just another thing that they don't have time for just yet. But we'll see maybe next summer when everyone has a little bit more time to try new things.
Right. Yeah, that time is always can be our best friend in the summer, but our enemy during the year. As we wrap up here, we are with Mari Venturino, and she is Miss Venturino on the Twitter. And I have one last question for her, but if anyone else, we do still have a few extra minutes left. If anyone has a question, you can use the Q&A app or use the hashtag BadgeChatK12 to submit it. And Mari, I guess my question is, you sort of hinted at where you might see things going in the future, but maybe if you wouldn't mind just taking a minute to tell us, over the winter break coming up here, or maybe over the summer, where you see the next evolution of whether it's the Viking group or the Getting Techie group.
Well, I think there are, going back to my document, there are some holes of badges that I want to create in here. There's all the Google ones. I applied to be a Google trainer, and I'm doing the Innovator application also. And so I should hear back from trainer tomorrow, hopefully. And so that reminds me that I need to create the Google badges. I did a PD recently on Google Forms, so I need to create, I guess I better add that in as we're talking, so you can watch me live in action. Create a new, so it'll be T055, and oh look, I already made it, just kidding. So it's right there, so I did a workshop, and so I need to get that one uploaded into the badge list group. Yeah. So I think creating more badges, but then also some nesting ones. So for example, this Tech Tuesday times 10, that's my first nesting badge. They have to earn, there's a Tech Tuesday times 5 somewhere up here, where they have gone to 10 Tech Tuesday lunches, and then they'll go to 5, and then they can they'll use this badge as part of their evidence, and then another question or so, to answer to get the full badge for attending 10 times. So I think that's kind of my direction, and then thinking about how I would use it with students. There's so many things that I want to do next semester with students, so I need to figure out, and it's the kind of thing where it's so cool and such a great opportunity, but I don't want to use it just to use it. I want to use it when I have a specific purpose with my students, so it really has to enhance our classroom. So just finding the right use. I'm not entirely sure what that's going to look like yet, but definitely if people have ideas, I'd love to hear them, because that's kind of a next direction for me as a teacher also.
Awesome. One thing I'll share with you and everyone else watching, and Mari, if you don't mind, if you would stop the screen share, I think that might help us with the echo issue there. Is Aurora Public Schools here in Colorado has made their badge site live for the public. So if folks are looking for examples that are out in the wild for use with students, you can go to badge.aurorak12.org and see that for yourselves. Again, that's badge.aurorak12.org. And it's pretty much about the same since it was shared in our first Badge Chat K-12 show and tell, which you can find on our archives at badgechatk12.com. And Mari, just one last question that I wanted to ask before we run out of time, since I do have you for another couple minutes, I'll get greedy, is, you really talk so enthusiastic and passionately about how you just dove right into badges as an adult learner. I'm wondering if there was like this moment that you can remember, kind of a tipping point just in your own journey where, you went from wrapping your head around it and creating one badge to getting to a place where, wow, you have a spreadsheet of 55 badges that other adults can earn from you.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't something that I latched onto so quickly. I mean, I think I first heard about it and really got interested in gamification and badges in January, and it took me until the end of May to really figure out how to do this. Because what I wanted, I couldn't find a platform that was doing exactly what I wanted. So, and I was confused, open badges. I thought that was a platform, and I was so confused. And so finally, I found Badgelist, and I was like, okay, I can do this one. And so I think I just kind of penciled it out on a piece of paper, kind of what the vision was, and I was like, oh, I need somewhere to keep this all organized because I have so many ideas and they're just flowing. So I made the document, and that weekend I was dog sitting my friend's dog, so I was staying at her house, which was really nice because there weren't the usual distractions, so I was really able to focus and get stuff done. And she has a really nice peninsula island sort of thing that's standing desk high, and so I worked there a lot of the weekend, and it had so much space to just kind of spread all my stuff out, and so that was really great. That was kind of where I started with with all the badges. And then they just started pouring out, and over the summer I made even more, and then kind of early on in the school year, it's really tapered off the last few months, or last 2 months, because, again, time. Just so many other things that are going on.
I think that nearly 3 score of badges is pretty impressive and far from tapering off, Mari. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us and absolutely invite you on your blog posts that I've been reading and enjoying. If you ever want to share those with us and cross-post to badgechatk12.com, we'd love to put those on our site and help you reach even more readers. Thank you so much for joining us on Win of Credmos, and again, openbadgesforum.eventbrite.com. That's open badges plural forum.eventbrite.com is where you can learn more and sign up for the Open Badges Forum coming up in January in Southern California.
I'm
She
going.
is Mari Venturino, and she is in Southern California herself. Thank you so much for joining us, Mari.
Gladly.
And I'm Noah Geisel, and just thank you, everyone. Again, this is, we think, about our 1-year anniversary, so thank you so much, everyone who's been a part of just building and this amazing community of folks around Open Badges. Hopefully we continue to support your needs and that we all continue to learn and grow and make magic and awesomeness happen together. So thank you, everybody who watched us live. Anyone who watches this recording on YouTube, we appreciate your time. We are every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern at hashtag BadgeChatK12 on the Twitter, and we're alternating back here onto Google Hangouts on air as well. Again, thank you, Mari and An, for joining us this week, and everybody have a great charge for the rest of your semester here. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.